Beautiful Madness was recorded, produced, and distributed by myself at Soul Merge Productions. At Narara, Gorican, and Halakalani, Central Coast, New South Wales, Australia, 2014. Beautiful Madness, the sophomore album. The second and lead-up record from the last debut album, Just Getting Started. This record is grayscale to the colourful previous record, the younger email sister to the elder blonde bimbo. Metaphorically speaking. But in reality, Beautiful Madness was an album that expressed my feelings from that point in time. Living arrangements weren't the best. Moving from house to house, going through a relationship breakdown because of all the stress from our lives. The music industry, on the other hand, and their critics were having their say, which some had great feedback, others not so much. Good and bad feedback also led to broken promises. But most importantly, my mental health was on the decline. I guess my life was in a way on the line. The album starts off with the dark track Hardcore Insanity, which is a complete turnaround compared to the first release, Eternal Desire, from the last album. Although not being the first single from Beautiful Madness, Won't Bring Me Down was the first release, to ease the listeners into the story of what this album was about, as it's really a double-edged sword. The next few songs were happy and uplifting, still carrying out the theme of the album. Then the next two songs, Where Do I Go and Crossroads, spoke of one truth: uncertainty. Not knowing if I had a secure residence, not knowing whether my past relationship was going to last or not. But my problem is, I get too comfortable, and I'm very indecisive. You know what? When I make a decision, I stick to it. And I don't go back on it. Or do I? The tracks on this album are quite characteristic. The next three songs, My Influence, Your Glory, and On Fire, were created to be inspiring to the listener, yet personal, uplifting, and relatable. At the end of the day, Beautiful Madness contains a mixture of diverse vibes, feels, and emotions. On the same token, this album was more of a mainstream sound than the last, which got more people's attention. People hear a single, an EP, or an album, and their take and aspect on it could be completely different to my own. A different reason for resonation, but that's the beauty of being an artist and writing with an open mind. Make this your story, your own story, but put your spin on it. Make it yours. The cover art is very different to the last, more shades with splash of colour, a lot more substance. And this time around, the fans and critics like this one a lot more. I'm proud of it. Doesn't matter what other people think, as long as I love it. But I do love to change things up when I feel that it's necessary and needed. So, in that aspect, I'm actually glad that people liked this one, and they still do. I have a family friend who studied psychology at the time, and she has been very supportive of what I do, and she wanted to know why I called this album Beautiful Madness. Why? Why would you call it that? She says. Of course it was a good question, but to go into details of why was very daunting, and it gave me anxiety. Does it fit my persona? Am I really that crazy or that mad that I would call a piece of my work something like this? It's still beautiful though, right? Isn't that the main thing? The answer to that question was beautiful, meaning whatever happens in your life's journey, good or bad, you have to think of it as a beautiful experience, making the most of what you do and what you have at the time. But what I went through at the time, not feeling stable mentally, physically, financially, not having a place to call home, to me was madness. The overwhelming anxiety and stress from the situations I had to work through was tough. I got to the point of leaving where I was and returning back to the family home that I always called home. And I always felt safe there. Not just because of my parents, but the location and just the aura of being where you grew up. It's returning back to your roots, and it's the best place to be, I feel. All in all, the title Beautiful Madness pretty much means take or make a good thing out of a bad situation. I guess that's what I did by moving back home. I look back now though, and I have been in similar situations since then, except without moving back home. It's a lot easier to deal with these days, especially after the first or second time. But I'll tell you what, Music will always help me through, as I have always said. Final track on the album, Music Junkie, is definitely a prime example of that. It explains my passion, my obsession, and my love. I really am a music junkie. It's like a drug. Can't get enough of it. But at least it's a healthy one, and it's legal. So I encourage you to really dip into this story, this record, because it sheds light on how my mental health is and has been for a while. I still deal with it these days, but it's easier some days than others. But if you have friends, family and support around you, it's so much easier. I love you all so much for taking the time to take a look at what this video is about, and I can't wait to share the next part of my journey with you.